We have an outstanding class for you all tonight. This will be part four. It's just going to be me and you today. I'm not going into charts. I'm not going into anything spectacular today, except we're just going to talk about what we went over and put it all together in simple layman terms. Okay. So I know it was a lot of information in part one, two, and three, but you're going to need to watch those over and over and over again in order to be able to get the fullness and understand the mitochondria. And it's extremely important that you do understand the mitochondria because it is the power cell of the body, meaning without it, you basically going to die. Just like a battery, just like any other battery, right? Or any other object. If the batteries go dead, it can't move, it can't do anything, and its motor is basically out. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything to keep the mitochondria doing exactly what it is supposed to do. Okay. And so the key thing that in order to do that, what we have to do is we have to make sure that we are feeding it or the cells exactly what they need. Okay. This is extremely important and it's an extremely important concept. So I want to summarize what I went over first, and then we're going to go get into how your body deals with it and why disease can get through or cannot get through the body to be able to, or create it rather in the body to debilitate you due to the fact of what you're living or what it is that you're eating or consuming or your nutrition. Okay. So, in your lifestyle, very important, very important. And if you're in a detrimental state, how we're going to go ahead and rectify and turn around and get your power cells working again, okay? Or your mitochondria, rather, working again, okay? So, the first thing that we want to do is remember we started in hydrogen, and I started at regular physics level, not at not at quantum physics because I would have took you all the way back to quarks and so forth, but I didn't want to go there. I wanted to start with hydrogen and give you the understanding that the hydrogen atom is the creation molecule or a creation atom rather. It creates everything. Everything is created from the hydrogen, right? And I showed you that as we went up the chart when it came to the periodic table. So on the periodic table, everything is like one, two, three, four. It's talking about how many hydrogens it takes to actually create it. So everything is based in hydrogen. I don't care if you even use helium mixed with another chemical, they all were based in hydrogen. So hydrogen creates everything. That's the first thing I wanted you to get. The second thing I wanted you to understand is that the periodic table is perfection. So it's showing you creation's perfection. And I dealt with creation evolution, not regular evolution, but creation evolution. What is the difference? What evolution teaches you is that things just automatically started transforming into other beings by necessity. But if that was the case, then we know that monkeys or apes would still be turning into human beings. They don't. Evolution would continue. So that process would come. That's why with every single transformation that they talk about, they have something called a missing link. And that missing link is creation. It is purposeful creation. That's the missing link. So when you add purposeful creation back to the evolution theory, now you have the missing link is gone, and you can see how each process was a learning process to be able to build to the next level. And it took billions of years for that process to happen, but it was so perfect. Every step was perfected to the point where when you look at the periodic table, you will see the perfection from hydrogen to helium to lithium, right? To beryllium, to so all the way up the chart. until we get to iron, which the stars create. Then when they explode, what do? They create all the others. They create all the other metals and things that you see. So this is an extremely powerful process. I want you to see that because I want you to understand your mitochondria is created in that idea, right? So I want you to see the atomic particles all the way up to where we are today in the physical body, okay, to the mitochondria. And so we moved past that, and I showed you molecules. And molecules were, first of all, atoms were created through fusion, meaning they had to hit the proton. You had to push those atoms together till they hit the proton. You can't do that. When we're touching electrons. That's all we're touching. We're touching electrons, right? Which is bringing signals to the brain. So we're touching electrons. However, in that, you're touching. You have to touch the protons, and to do that, you need a sun, right, or some type of artificial sun, right, to create that reaction. And so when that happens, when they hit that hard and they touch protons, then what happens is they become a what do you call that? Atom. When two come together, when two what do you call that? Electrons, when they touch electrons, right? Then what happens is that a molecule is formed. And so once the molecule is formed, these are the molecules. So we have atoms and we have molecules, and both are we see functional within the body, atoms and molecules. Okay. So for instance, O, or oxygen, O is a atom. O2, right? When you have the O2, that is the molecule. Okay. So the other thing is, remember when we go up that ladder, it gets bigger. So as atoms begin to grow, like in other words, hydrogen is the smallest atom. Then comes helium, which is the second smallest. And as they go up the chart, they get bigger and heavier in mass and so forth with it. Okay? And that's each atom. Remember, it takes multiple atoms to create what we can see, right? So, and then multiple molecules. So we have molecules, atoms, and I wanted to show you that. Okay? Then we move from there into prokaryotic beings. Prokaryotic beings were one cell beings. After all the years it took to get all of the suns to be able to create enough of the minerals atoms, as long as it took them to make that, then we had to wait for it to explode, right, and go into either a black hole or a supernova to create the other ones. Then they had to cool, and then they had to come together and form planets, right? This is all this process, and I want you to understand the simplicity of this process, but how amazing it is and the time that it took to create you. Because if you understand how great and wonderful you are, you will understand that this was a process of the universal whole, or what is known as Yahweh or Elohim, putting together a process to bring you into being so that we can have a experience inside of a body on the planet. So it was consciousness to the hydrogen, to the atoms, to the molecules, to the explosion, to the rest of the atoms coming, atoms coming, and then cool down until it got into planets and could create molecules and all the things that we see today. Now, we got the prokaryotic beings. The prokaryotic beings are single cell beings. These were created first, millions years ago. This is like bacteria. And I told you bacteria are geniuses, right? The prokaryotic beings are probably the most intelligent beings on the planet and survive anything. So we're filled with prokaryotic beings. We are eukaryotic beings, which we talked about, which means that our organs or organelles are inside of cells, and everything is sectioned off for us, right? Everything is sectioned off. So the mitochondria inside of us is sectioned into an area, right? And we have a cell around it. Now, that is extremely powerful. Why? Because now we're at the point where we could have so many mechanisms going on in the body, and so many single cell or we have trillions of single cells in our body, that now is working as a symphony. And in order for this symphony to be able to work, this symphony must be tuned properly, right? And it must allow sound in and sound out. This is called cellular, or what we know as cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is where food and nutrients can get into a cell easily and come out of a cell. Waste is pushed out of the cell, and then the waste is able to go into the lymph system, and the lymph system can get rid of the waste. Okay, if you haven't seen my video on the lymph system, make sure you watch that. If you haven't seen part 1, 2, and 3 of the health class, of the mitochondria classes, make sure you watch those before they be off of YouTube and on my Patreon only. So I'm advising you to do that if you can. If you're on my Patreon, welcome. Enjoy these, but make sure you watch them over and over again until you really get this concept, because it's the power of the cell. It's the thing that's keeping you alive, right? As far as energy is concerned, and that's your mitochondria. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that you have so once you get the mitochondria set up, right? Or once you understand the cellular respiration, is what food going in, waste coming out. Food going in, waste coming out. Food going in, waste coming out. This is backed up in most people. And so I want you to understand, this is why I promote the balanced oil so much, because it is the major problem. I've seen it reverse lupus. I've seen it reverse sickle cell crisis. I've seen it reverse cancer, 4-stage cancer at that. I've seen it reverse, you name it. Go down the line. I've seen it reverse. It got rid of my sciatica because it rebuilds the sheaths around the nerves. It got rid of that. Brain fog it gets rid of because it's always helping the brain. It's good for brain, heart health, and all organ health, right? It deals with the visceral fat as well. It's extremely powerful. And the main thing that it does is create cellular respiration. Because what has happened is our cells have become rigid on the outside. The cellular membrane has become rigid. And because it's become rigid, food cannot get in and waste cannot get out. And if that happens, now you have your cells that are filled with cellular poop. Literally, this is literal like feces of the cell, and it's stuck in there because it can't get out because it's rigid. And so because of that, what happens is you get stuck in a place, or people get stuck in a place where the mitochondria cannot get any energy. And this is a lot of times the first thing you're going to feel, and when you feel this is the effects of, that you're moving towards death. When you're saying, I don't have the energy that I used to have, or I don't have any energy, what's wrong with me? That is a very dangerous place to be in. It's a very dangerous place to be in. It's not somewhere to play around with. It's not somewhere to joke and all that. It is a very serious state of being when you cannot, right, get your cellular respiration through your body. That's a very bad sign. Okay. So I want you to really understand that. I want you to get that. I want you to really grasp a hold of that concept and make sure that you're keeping it in your mind as you go throughout your day-to-day activities. Now, if that's the case, let's look at what we went to on video number 2, right? We talked about what was called glycolysis. In other words, this is like eating. This is why you eat. Let me say it that way. Glycolysis is why you eat, period. Okay? To fuel the cells of the body. Right? That's it. That's why you eat. Okay? So if glycolysis and the Krebs cycle, which was video 3, are not happening, you have a major problem. And I don't mean if one or the other is not happening. If both of them together are not happening, you have a major problem, because you can have glycolysis happening and going on and have no and you will, I mean, glycolysis could be running perfectly and you won't have any problems. However, and you will have major problems if Krebs cycle is not running. So in other words, if glycolysis is doing perfect, it's going good, everything is great with glycolysis, but your Krebs cycle is not getting into the Krebs cycle, you will still feel half energy, or low, even less than that. You're going to be at about 10 to 20, 30% energy you're going to be running off of. And most people are running off of this 10, 20, and 30% of energy. Right? And this is a very important concept to get, because if we're running off of this 10, 20, and 30%, one thing about the body is wherever there's a problem, it's going to look at something lesser to get it. So for instance, if you're not drinking your water, right? And this is not talking about that, though you need it. You do need to drink enough water for cellular respiration, but I'm talking about something else. If you're not hydrated and you're not drinking enough water, right? And Fiji hasn't paid me yet for this yet, right? But hopefully they will in the future. I don't have any problem with advertising. That doesn't bother me at all. So if you're not drinking your water, right? And so you're dehydrated, it will start taking from whatever is what the body considers the least important organ. So for instance, your eyes, it considers very low importance compared to your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, and those other items. So it has an order to which it will pull from these things if something is deficient. This is why you do not want to ever be deficient in anything, because you want to make sure that you are efficient in everything, or else it's going to destroy somewhere else in the body to make the more important things that it considers more important survive. So if your eyesight means a lot to you, which mine does, I wear these glasses. These aren't to see. These are to block the rays coming in from the computer, right? But I'm saying, though, if you care about your eyes and your eyesight, right, then you will be drinking enough water, because what? Your body considers your eyes something it can live without. Why? Because the original beings on the planet, which were the single cell prokaryotes, right, and the eukaryotes rather, both of them, the prokaryote and the eukaryote, both of them did not have eyes at first. So it considers it not necessary for you to have eyes. So if you're not hydrated, your body is going to look at your eyes and say, we can take water from there. This causes eye disease. This causes blindness. This causes cataracts. This causes all the different things that happen in your body, Most of it is because you're dehydrated, number one. However, when we come to cellular respiration, it's the same thing, right? So if your cells are breaking down, then what's going to happen is it's going to take that from your body elsewhere, and it's going to see what is easier to break down in order for you to get, in order for you to be able to do cellular respiration or get its energy from. And that is always harmful. Your body is designed to do certain things. Okay, so now the next thing that we want to look at is cellular. So when it comes to cellular respiration, right? That was what glucolysis and the Krebs cycle was about. Remember, the glucolysis was done in the cytoplasm outside of the mitochondria. Krebs cycle is done inside of the Krebs cycle. Okay? Now, if you don't get any energy, again, remember, if you don't get any power to the cells, major problem. Okay? Major issue if you don't get any power to the cells. So, let's keep moving from there. So now, if you come to the mitochondria, right? If you get to the cell and it's trying to get something in it, but it can't, that is a major problem. So how does glycolysis work? Glycolysis was a 10-step process, remember? To take a glucose molecule, one glucose molecule, and turn it into 2-pyruvate. Okay? 2-pyruvate is what the goal was. Now, when it goes through that process, it creates 2 ATPs, which are what? Adenosine triphosphate, meaning it's 3 phosphates and adenosine, right? Now, this right here is a building block. It's powerful. So it becomes adenosine triphosphate. You get 2 of those. This is energy. Then what do you get what do we also get? 1 NADH. But remember, it has to go through this cycle 2 times, the glycolysis cycle. So we end up with 2 NHs and 4 ATPs in glycolysis. Right? Now, what would make it get stuck at glycolysis and not go to Krebs cycle? The number one thing that stops all production of Krebs cycle or things going to the Krebs cycle is cancer. Cancer avoids the Krebs cycle. So it's using glycolysis because it's quicker than Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle has 8 steps that it has to totally go through. These 10 steps happen quickly in glycolysis. And so it's more efficient for the cancer to be able to reproduce itself quickly, but it's less efficient to your body because it is stealing your oxygen, number one. And number two, it is only creating 2 ATP or 4 ATP and 2 NADH. So it's what will stop that from happening. Right? And it's producing so fast, it makes your body think it has a lot of ATP, which it doesn't because the cancer is taking it. Therefore, it's going to trick it into thinking that it is getting the energy it's supposed to have. Cancer is raw. If you didn't see my cancer video, make sure you watch my cancer video. I got like 4 cancer videos, but the first one that said cancer, you need to watch that. I really go deep into cancer and how it works. It is no joke. It takes your lipids, which is your fats. It takes your protein, and it takes your oxygen, and it takes your sugar. Right? Because glycolysis is your food. That's your sugar. That's your food. It's stealing it. And then it locks itself off and creates tumors within itself. So it's a bunch of them coming together to create tumors. It's no joke. It's like building another body inside of you, stealing all of your nutrients. Everything you need to live, it's stealing it. Right? Now, we're going to come back to that because we got to deal with how we're going to deal with that. Now, the next thing is glycolysis. So we dealt with that. Now, once those two pyruvates are created, then we're going to go into the Krebs cycle. And the Krebs cycle is what's called the citric cycle, right? It's known as the citric cycle, which is going to take us through and create another 36 to 38 ATP when it's all said and done. 36 to 38. So every time your body doesn't go into, or every time that glucose cycle or the glycolysis doesn't go into the Krebs cycle, you're losing 36 to 38 additional ATP every single day. I mean, every single cycle. That's every glucose cell or every glucose, molecule. So, and do you know how many glucose molecules is just in one piece of whatever you're eating? But it's stealing that. So now you're deficient in ATP, which therefore causes you to be sluggish, tired, don't feel good, all of those type things. You now have no cellular respiration, and then your cell membranes become rigid. This also will cause diabetes, cancer. Man, if you ask me, it's going to cause everything, because everything is dependent on the energy of the cell. So now we're going to get into how do we fix cellular respiration? How do we get it to work again? What is the key thing we need to do to get it to work again? Okay. Now, one of the most important things I said is the balance oil. Why? Because omega-3s go in, right, and they are able to reactivate the mitochondria. Those omega-3s, EPA and DHA, right? And if like the average person is so deflated of it or depleted of it that you need this on a real level. Like, you don't need it on a light level. You need it on a real level, right? And this is the best. I call it the Bentley of omega-3s, the brand that I deal with, which is Enzino. It's the Bentley, and I'm gonna drop a link down here for y'all for that. So it's the Bentley. Now, I want you to get this. I want you to really, really, really grasp your mind around this. What it's going to do is it's going to now change the cellular membrane back to normal. Remember, my position statement or phrase that you always hear me say is, it's not about feeling better, but normal again, like you did when you were a child. So everything that I'm sharing with you is designed to get you back to your normal state like you were when you were a child, or if you were a child and you had ailments, to a better state than you've ever felt in your life. That is my goal. That's what we do, because I make it where you don't need me anymore, because you are totally healed. Your body heals itself. So in order to do that, there are certain amino acids, nutrients, things like that we're missing that need to come back. So it then makes it where the waste products can come out, right? Because remember, you have old cells that are waste, have waste. Now, also remember that the mitochondria is responsible for apoptosis, right? Apoptosis, which means the death of the cells. It will take old cells out that are causing problems. So diabetes itself is, especially type 2, I think type 1 also, but they say type 2 for definite, is old cells in your liver, right? That are not, excuse me, pancreas. Old cells in your pancreas that are not excreting insulin properly, or not communicating, rather. They're not communicating with the other cells. Well, any cells that do not communicate, that's cancer. That's the one thing that they do. Cells, the thing a cancer does what cancer is a cell with a lack of communication that goes rogue. Right? So omega 3s make them be able to communicate again. They can talk with one another again. EPA DHA is known for that. But the key thing is, as long as those old cells are sitting in those spots, your body will not produce new cells to retake those spots. Okay? This is where water fasting comes in. This is where xenogene comes in. This is where the way that you're eating, like your food, being on the optimal livid, it comes in there. Okay? So I want you to understand that it's very important to get that the mitochondria, most of the problems that you having is because of it. That's why I said I have seen the omega 3, right, that we have reverse all of these ailments. Because the problem is that the mitochondria is not able to produce the ATP. Guess why? Because the food or the pyruvate that is created isn't getting there to the mitochondria, can't get into the mitochondria. Therefore, the Krebs cycle, which is what the mitochondria does, never takes place. And as long as the Krebs cycle doesn't take place, you are running off of, let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that NADH, we're going to make it the top that it can be, right? The top would be, we're getting 2 NADH, which makes 3 ATP at its highest level. It makes 3 ATP. So what's that? 6, right? Plus 4 ATP in glycolysis. That's what? 6 plus 4 is 10. Right? Now, we're going to get 36 to 38. So that's approximately 1/4. You're running off of 25% energy. If that. But you're running off of 25% of the energy that you've been running off of the majority of your life while you were healthy. 25%. That's a lot. 75. You're missing 75% of energy due to the issue with your mitochondria. This is causing all your problems. I'm telling you, most of your problems is this. The other half of your problem, and the way that you have to fix it, is through your living, lifestyle, and nutrition. What you're putting in the body, because what you're putting in the body caused the problem. Right? So when we're eating the wrong type of sugars, right, we're causing too much waste into the body, and now that waste can't get out, it can't be dealt with, and we have a problem. So all that starch, major problem. Why? Because your body's running through glycolysis and can't get it out through the Krebs cycle quick enough to be able for your body to be able to get rid of the waste that's causing the problem. Extra protein is going to cause the cholesterol. You're going to have blockages and backup. Oxygen can't get in. What does it take? Krebs cycle, you must have what? Oxygen, air, or spirit in the body for the Krebs cycle to run. For the mitochondria to do what it's supposed to do, it's an aerobic process. Gotta have it. And if you so happen to possibly have cancer that you aren't aware of yet, It's taking up all your oxygen. Why? Because glycolysis, it uses aerobic glycolysis. It doesn't use the anaerobic. So it's taking up all your oxygen without taking anything into the Krebs cycle, and you're running at 25% ATP in the body instead of 75%. That's automatic death. Automatic. Then what else did they say will also help to heal and bring oxygen into the body so that you can move back into the Krebs cycle? Exercise. You got to exercise. You have to do it. You can't get around it. You must exercise every single day, or at least 5 times a week, and sweat for 30 minutes. That is super important. Why? Because you need to cleanse the lymph system, and the only thing that cleanses the lymph system is exercise. It doesn't have a pump like a heart, like your blood veins do. So if you watch my video on the lymph, you understand. You have to exercise. You have to. It ain't a question if perhaps I want to. No, you must. That's part of living. That's life and living. I don't care if you're overweight or something. You have to sit in a chair and just move and do the exercises in the chair. You have to exercise. You have to move the body, which feels good, right? Lift your legs in the chair if you have to, right? I'm blessed to be able to be back in the gym, but I was 280 pounds, right? If you know my story, I was 280 pounds. Had a heart attack and healed myself. Did not go to the hospital. I healed myself all the way back. So I'm not just talking. I had to heal my mitochondria. You understand what I'm saying? To get all my energy back. To be able to get back in the gym, to be able to work out, do the things that I do now. So I wanted to share that with you all and get that with you all, because you have to understand how cancer is working in the body, how diabetes is working in the body, and why the mitochondria is so important. And you are beautifully and wonderfully made. That was the most important thing I wanted you to get out of part 1 of the mitochondria, is you are beautifully and wonderfully made. You are special. It took billions, if not trillions, of years to perfect every step of creation, evolution, for you to arrive here. And everything, all the trillions of cells in your body, they have everything you have. They have all the feelings you have. And we are so disrespectful to our body and put anything in it without even considering them. We don't even think twice because we're so deep into our ego. So with that, that's what I wanted to share on the mitochondria with you all. If you didn't get to see part 1, 2, and 3, please make sure you watch them. They are very in-depth. This is a quick summary of what we went over, and I appreciate your time. See you all at the top of your health journey. Peace.
For the rest of this video and more videos like these, you can join us at patreon.com/health class. Again, that's patreon.com/health class, and join one of our paid tiers. Any of them will do. And you join one of those tiers, you can watch the rest of these videos, as well as all the other videos that I produced, including my former health classes, which is 4 to 8 hours of information that can help you on your health journey to the top. All right. So I look forward to sharing that adventure with you. I look forward to seeing you at the top of your health journey. Peace.